What's going on, Diablo fans? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll go over the importance of having your very own GoldFind Barb, the gear that I use, and the overall skill tree used to set yourself up for success when grinding for gold throughout the ladder. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that if you like these videos and you want to see more, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification to be notified when I drop new videos just like this. Okay, let's get started. For this particular build, the only major content you'll be doing is in fact trav runs, and the only skills you'll be using are Warcry as your primary source of damage and the find item skill for horking gold from bodies after you've killed them. The reason we want to do trav runs with this build is that not only are these runs very quick, the council members found in them have the highest possible drop rate for gold out of any mob in Diablo 2. Add this plus the high item level of 82 in hell difficulty, and you can easily see why farming this location for gold, uniques, and even high runes is so great. The importance of a GoldFind character tends to revolve around things like gambling and even hitting 99 in a season. And the cost of the reroll orbs to do the map content needed aren't cheap, but using inexpensive tools like the edge bow and geeds correctly can cut that cost down tremendously. So speaking of cost, how much does it cost to build this? Well, the answer really comes down to is how much you want to min-max your gold find, but in short, the answer is not too much at all. I've tested this with two separate builds to give a realistic approach on how early game and even late game gold find barbs would look like in terms of survivability and even drop rates, and this is what I found. So depending on how you want to play it, I have found for early game, going for the 2 blades of Alibaba with limbs in it for the extra gold find, and gold skin armor for the extra all resistances, which is needed early on if you aren't completely set up to run hell travs quickly or have trouble with survivability. Next, we have the Crown of Thieves. For this, the more sockets the better, plus it helps me hit the necessary fire resistances needed to make these go smooth. For the gloves, use chance cards for things like the magic find, and try to get a good corrupt on the gold find as well. For both rings, you want to use the dwarf stars, as these are the only rings that will grant you 100% gold find by default, and with a good corrupt you could easily increase this even more. For my belts, I'm using a gold wrap for magic find and gold find here. It's pretty standard. For the boots, you can go Inferno Stride, as these do come with anywhere between 40 to 70 extra gold find by default, but in this case I went with the Alder's boots just because I got a better roll on the gold find that I was using previously. So for the amulet, I went with this nice blue one. It's granting gold find and even +3 to war cries, and on swap I'm using 2 +3 war cry weapons to help with things like the pre-buffs, and even swap for extra damage on my war cry if needed to. But I'd aim to get something like the 2 6-socketed grandfather swords, as these grant plus to war cries by default, and with 6 limbs in them you're going to get 450 extra gold find from monsters instead of the 217 from the Alibabas, and eventually get something like this Mara's for the plus skills and all res to help you with survivability. And wealth for the armor, as this does grant 300 gold find instead of the standard 100 you get from gold skin. For charms, you really want to find Warcry with gold find GCs, and for small charms, anything with fire res, lightning res, FHR, or gold find as a secondary will be just fine, with eventually grabbing a torch and Annie just for more resistances. For the skill tree, all you want to do is max out Warcry and as many of the better synergies as possible. In my case, I like to use Shout, which helps me and my merc with defense, Howl for the increased damage of my Warcry, as well as Taunt, Battle Orders for the obvious max life and mana, and Battle Command for the increased skills. And not to mention Battle Cry for the negative enemy physical resistances, which helps my merc kill things faster, which I'll explain why that's important in just a moment. And 1 hard point into find potion, and 1 hard point into find item. If you find yourself or your merc not doing enough damage quick enough, I'd suggest putting 1 point into Grim Ward just for the enhanced damage, giving you and your merc everything that you need to survive while also hitting an insane amount of gold find, and in this case I'm doing 2,400. So speaking of merc, let's talk about what I use. In this case, I'm using an Act 5 merc with an IK Maul with 6 sockets, with limbs and negative 15 requirement jewel, as this particular weapon does have a pretty steep strength requirement. I'm using Wealth for his armor, and a Crown of Thieves for his helm, Chance Guards for his gloves, Gold Wrap for his belt, and Inferno Stride for the boots, giving him 1100 gold find. It's important to have a high percentage of gold find on your merc due to the fact that if he last hits a mob, his and your gold find both are added together when determining the gold find percentage drop. But only yours if you last hit it. But honestly, if you have such a high gold find, it's not a huge deal. Just make sure that you have lots of full rejues when doing these runs, as having full rejues makes it much more smoother, so I'd suggest running at least a couple Stony Field runs or Trist runs just for a quick re-up. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. Huge thanks to the community for suggesting this build, and if you guys have another build idea that you would want me to test out or make a video on for the future, please suggest it in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.